At this point, what would it realistically take for Trump to lose support in the GOP? His numbers don't seem to be shrinking, despite the fact that he's under several indictments. He says vile things about our military, which until he showed up, was a guaranteed way to nosedive a campaign. Plenty of people where I live, West Texas, think all these charges are the result of a witch hunt, and that he's a modern-day Jesus being unjustly persecuted. To the rest of us, he's clearly a disgrace to the Oval Office, and to the country as a whole. He is a threat that needs to be taken seriously. Now, what would it take to bring him down? At this point, I'm convinced that he could eat a live baby on the Tucker Carlson show, and his fanbase would still find a way to defend it. The kids and Scooby-Doo would have to trap him on live TV, and then remove his mask to reveal Hillary Clinton. If he died, that would probably lower it somewhat. Shooting someone on Fifth Avenue wouldn't move the needle. Giving some guy a blow job on Fifth Avenue might though. Some of the people I've spoke to say they don't like Trump, but like his America First policies. My parents, for example, think he has less than zero tact, and is a pompous asshole, but would vote for him again over Biden because they don't like Biden policies and favor Trump's. If he started to drone strike churches and supporting mandatory transitioning for all Republicans, his numbers might dip. The die-hards are in too deep. Their whole identity is based on Trump. If they stop supporting him, they'd feel like betraying themselves. They'd rather call everything fake and not trust their own eyes and mind than admit they've been fooled. It's sad really, but for many of them, there's no going back. I think if he'd get caught on tape raping an underager, they wouldn't budge. They'd call it a deep fake. Whatever he says is gospel, no matter how nonsensical it is. He'll have a significant following until he dies. I don't understand his charm, but one cannot deny he has some weird form of charisma. Nothing. You can't talk some from a position they climb to with logic if they didn't use logic to get there. 1. To propose a ban on guns. 2. To propose loosening of restrictions on abortion. 3. To propose a massive tax increase on rich people donors. His death. No, wait. NM. Just remembered Weekend at Bernie's is in vogue in DC now. The only truth I've ever heard come out of that man's mouth is that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and he wouldn't lose any voters. I 100% believe that to be the case. To the morons still supporting him, he can do no wrong. They're a lost cause. Nothing. It's a fucking cult. Realistically, I don't think anything would. They worship him as a god. They put him above their country, their families and themselves. He could rip their child's face off and they would thank him for exposing that their child was disloyal. We heard from several generals that he has no respect for wounded veterans. And this from a guy who didn't serve because of some bogus foot problem. How can any vet support this clown? He's dumb as rocks and is constantly wrong. But one right thing he said was that he could literally shoot someone and not lose support. It's a cult. There has to be a catastrophic event for people to get it. See Jim Jones, David Koresh as examples. I would have said death, but I'm pretty sure there's a segment of the MAGA cult that wouldn't believe it. He could be filmed on live TV to the entire US wearing a "The Brits Should Have Won in 1776" t-shirt, while simultaneously stamping on a puppy and eating a live kitten, just after having stabbed Oprah to death. And still MAGA Republicans would vote for him. I honestly think his death would be the only thing. Even then, you'd have red hat morons circulating theories about a CIA hit squad or something. Anything to blame liberals for their failures in life. It's going to take a generation to erase the stain of this turd. Maybe. Just maybe if he dropped dead in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Even then they'd probably pull a weekend at Bernie's. His numbers are shrinking. But it's the people that were less in the cult of Trump than the rest that are leaving. As for the ones deep in the cult, nothing will get them to lose support. Trump seems to have done everything but kill someone directly. And even he said that his base would still support him if he did that. And I'd say at this point that is true. Either they'll say it never happened, or that whoever Trump killed deserved it. Despite doing everything wrong, Trump can do no wrong in their eyes. Gay sex tape with a Muslim trans person. It's the only way. You can look to Stalin for a comparison. He probably murdered more of his own people than the Germans did. Ruined the lives of countless more by shipping them to the gulags, but 70 years on, some most older Russians still wax nostalgic about his days in power. There is, I think, some component in human nature that wants to be ruled, no matter what the actual cost. Honestly, it will take the media not looking to be at his beck and call. If the media would ignore him, his support would slowly go away. At this point, what would it realistically take for Trump to lose support in the GOP? Nothing. They would have to admit to themselves and the world that they were wrong. That their bullshit meter is literal trash and their judgment frankly so dangerous that they shouldn't be allowed to participate in the vote with the rest of us. That will never happen. Never. He has a covenant with his base to use the power of the Oval Office to hurt the people they hate. Immigrants, liberals, LGBTQ. The list goes on. If he ever pulled back from that to say, grant amnesty to dreamers, he would immediately lose his standing. Cruelty to the people his supporters hate is why they support him. He won't. I grew up in a conservative family. Go to a conservative church, etc. Honestly, most people I talk to really don't like Trump all that much and would definitely prefer someone else. No one in my family likes him. Most of my family refuse to vote for him. But the thing is, there is a significant number of conservatives around 30 that are absolutely ride or die for Trump. And that is a plurality of conservatives as a whole. He's not going away because the 70 who want someone else can't solidify around anyone, and are typically willing to vote for Trump, even if they don't really like him all that much. He'd have to die. He could flip-flop on every single topic and they would still support him. It's a cult. His death, and honestly probably not even then, QAnon will have nut jobs believing he is still alive but in hiding. Like how some folks used to believe that Elvis was still alive in the 80s and 90s. I am a Republican. I detest Trump and I think the only way the party will be free from him is for him to pass away. Alas. His untimely death. Even then, his supporters would see it as a witch hunt and vote for him anyway. It would probably take a few extreme things, especially in quick succession. He would have to go out of his way to turn his back on everything his voters think he believes in, publicly insult Christianity, say he'll ease the embargoes on Cuba, and other things which he would realistically never do now. If the whole Democratic elite began to praise him as a great leader, he would get hated instantly and kicked out. Donald Trump would have to personally murder a beloved family member in front of their eyes for some folks to stop blindly supporting Trump. Get caught in bed with AOC and Pelosi.